I'm going to give you the best ways to deal with the 5 most difficult days of Nofap. The first day is obviously the day you relapse. You've just jerked off and you probably also watched porn. You probably feel drained and a bit ashamed. Before you do anything else, I want you to write down a few things. The first thing you should write down is why it happened. Think hard about this because this question is very important if you want to stop jerking off. By writing this thing down, you'll identify the thing that triggered you to jerk off. When you've identified this trigger, I want you to write down what you can do in the future to avoid this situation. It's great to be able to resist your urges, but in the beginning this can be very difficult. So it's even better to find ways to avoid situations that give you these urges in the first place. Once you've done this, you've successfully identified the trigger and you've figured out a way to deal with it so you won't have problems with this particular trigger in the future. After this, I want you to write down how you feel right now and why you want to do Nofap. I used to feel ashamed after I jerked off and this made me feel like a loser. I'm an introvert, so I wanted to improve my social skills, but jerking off prevented me from doing so. I also wanted to gain more motivation to work on my goals. Maybe these things will motivate you as well, or maybe it's something different. Whatever it is, write it down. You'll use this as motivation for when you get urges again. Maybe you'll still relapse, but it'll at least lower the odds of that happening. After this, I want you to take a shower. Finish with showering as cold as possible for 1 minute. If you can't do 1 minute, then start with 15 seconds until you're able to do a full minute. Believe me, this will absolutely change how you feel. You may say that you don't want to do this because you hate taking cold showers, but this is beside the point. The point of this isn't that it's fun to do. From a fear and discomfort standpoint, stepping into a cold shower is almost like volunteering yourself for a kick in the nuts. The first time I did it, I had trouble breathing and I really hated it. I still don't like it, but the feeling it gives you is definitely worth it. I honestly want you guys to do this every day, but especially after relapses. You'll instantly feel clean and it gives you an energy boost. If you do this every day, then you'll also start to change your mindset. By forcing yourself to do something you really hate, you get into the mindset of, oh, I have to do something I hate, might as well get it over with. Instead of, oh, I have to do something I hate, I don't want to do this. This shift in your mindset is very powerful and it makes overcoming things a lot easier. If you do all of these things, then day 0 of Nofap will become a very useful day and it'll set you up for a longer Nofap streak. The second difficult day is actually a few day period. I always had a hard time with the first, second and third day of Nofap. Because you watched porn when you relapsed, your number of dopamine receptors has decreased and because of this your body will release less dopamine. This leads to less motivation and less energy. You'll start to feel better gradually, but the first 3 days are usually the most difficult ones in my experience. On these days the urge to jerk off is also the biggest. To deal with this, it's best to stay as busy as possible. Work on your goals, go to the gym, learn new things, meet up with friends or spend time with family. Also be on the lookout for things that can trigger you. Avoid and remove these triggers as much as possible. When you do these things, you'll survive the first couple of days of Nofap. The third difficult day is right after the testosterone boost on day 7. The first time you'll actually experience significant benefits is around day 7. If you don't ejaculate for 7 days, then your testosterone levels will increase to 145% according to a scientific study. This has all kinds of benefits. However, the day after this, most of these benefits are gone and this may give you a bad feeling. I remember that I used to be disappointed when these benefits had gone away. Instead of getting sad about this, I want you to look at it differently. Write down the benefits you experienced so you can use this as motivation for later on. The benefits will return even stronger later on, so it can definitely help you to write these things down. At this point, you've written down why you want to quit, how relapsing makes you feel, what benefits you can expect when you continue, which triggers you must avoid, and how to avoid them. This combination is really powerful and I'm sure it'll make it easier for you to stay on Nofap. Besides this, it also helps to stay busy on this day, so you won't be thinking about the benefits that have gone away. The fourth difficult day is more difficult to predict. This is the Nofap flatline. For most people, this day comes somewhere after 2 weeks. This is basically the period in which your brain no longer receives the pleasure chemical dopamine, and this causes you to feel really unmotivated. So on this day you basically feel like your benefits are gone. I usually don't have a hard time dealing with the Nofap flatline and I'm now going to share why that is. Whenever I feel like I'm experiencing the Nofap flatline, I make time to train. I found that running with a few sprints in between or a high intensity interval training works best, but you can also lift weights or do something else. You need discipline for this, but this is something that's within your control. You'll be glad you did it afterwards because you feel great. After you've done this, you're going to take a cold shower because of the reasons I told you earlier in this video. Besides these reasons, cold showers also improve your mood, attention, memory, focus and concentration because your body releases the neurotransmitters dopamine and norepinephrine when you take a cold shower. When you do these things, you'll instantly feel better and more focused. The 5th day is also hard to predict because it differs for a lot of people. For me, it usually appears somewhere after 3 or 4 months. This is the wet dream. It doesn't really matter when it appears, it just matters that you know how to deal with it, and I'm going to tell you that right now. It can be so frustrating. You came so far and now it feels like your streak ended because of something you couldn't control. Guys, a wet dream doesn't end your streak. For me, nofap means no porn and no jerking off, so a wet dream isn't a relapse for me. However, on the day after you might feel like you lost most of your benefits. In the past, I relapsed a number of times after this because I felt frustrated. I felt like, well, my benefits are gone, so I might as well jerk off and watch porn. This is a huge mistake. This is because when you decide not to relapse, you'll see that the benefits will return pretty quickly. One time I decided not to relapse and to my surprise the benefits returned really quickly. After a week I felt like nothing had happened. So when you have a wet dream, you must just accept that it happens. It's part of the process. Don't beat yourself up over it, it happens to the best. I had 2 wet dreams in a row earlier this week, guys. I mean 2 days in a row, that really sucks. This was right after not having any wet dreams for 6 months or so. It's the 3rd day after that right now and I already feel most of the benefits again. So you just have to accept wet dreams and be patient. However, there is one thing you can do to prevent them from happening for the most part. This is to avoid sleeping on your stomach. I always sleep on my back, but earlier this week, when the wet dreams happened, I had somehow moved to my stomach when I fell asleep. So try to avoid them by doing this, but accept that they'll happen from time to time. I've done nofap for more than 5 years with a few relapse moments and they still happen to me from time to time. So now you know how to deal with the most difficult days of nofap. To motivate yourself, it can be very useful to know what benefits you can expect. Check out these videos next to see the obvious and non-obvious benefits you can expect from nofap. I'll see you there.